So I was going to just do like generic lessons to get me through the summer. That didn't happen because my mind was going, so that doesn't work at all. So we're going to do a little series. And we're going to be, if you read your bulletin, did you ever read your bulletin yet? You read it last night? Who reads it on Saturday when it gets out to you guys? Overachievers. Good job. So we're going to talk about finding Jesus, looking for Jesus, and what happens when people find Christ. And I think it helps us as Christians, but it also helps us, it encourages us, I think, for us to teach people about Christ as well, because of the life change that happens. And so Luke 19 is where we're going to be today. I have a quick question before we go any further. How many of you played Foursquare when you were a kid? Foursquare. Wow. Okay, Levi, you're right. In Texas, people don't play Foursquare. How do you not played Foursquare? Foursquare. You don't know what Foursquare is? Is it a northern thing? Just a few years ago? Huh. Okay. So, I was trying to explain Nine Square that we're going to play today outside. And I was hoping some of the young adults would get into it, change clothes and get into the game and have some fun. And I'm like, it's just like Foursquare and volleyball, combine it, you get Nine Square. And they go, what's Foursquare? And I was like, what? I am not explaining it because what did you guys do all the time? As children? That's called children labor. It's against the law. Arrest them. As a kid, I was outside. We played all the time. We played marbles. We played street hockey. In the wintertime, we played ice hockey. And we played Foursquare. When you have low number of friends, Foursquare is a great game. All right, I'm done. All right, Luke 19. I have no understanding. We went out and we just killed things with our 22s. Luke 19 is where we're going to be. I want to look at the Zacchaeus today, is what I want to look at with you and study this guy. I'm going to tell you right now, next week is Saul. We're going to look at Saul in the book of Acts. So if you want to go back this week and just look at him, study him, get some thoughts surrounding around him. Have you ever heard of the term curiosity killed the cat? Yeah. We have a cat. I love watching her just in the house, and she gets curious at things, and she's looking for things. They're investigating, right? They're playing with it, or they're investigating it. What are the benefits? What comes from you being curious about something? Okay, you learn about it. Anybody else? Nothing? You're never curious about anything? Are you on autopilot in your life? What's curiosity? Yes, Joe. Yeah, that's fantastic. I don't keep a dictionary beside my chair, but I just say, Google, what does this word mean? And then she comes back in a very broken English and tells me. But yeah, I knew a professor of mine, and he would be reading, and he always kept a dictionary when he read a new book, because he didn't know, he came across words all the time. And he said, I had no idea what this, and he had to look it up. So there's that curiosity. You want to learn those new words, you want to understand the definition, fantastic. It can get you in trouble. And I think curiosity can lead you down a path that you don't need to go. But curiosity could also lead you in a lot of great places as well. I know, curiosity killed the cat. Absolutely. Why does curiosity kill the cat? Why do we use that term? Why does that phrase exist? Because you went someplace and you died, right? She pushed the envelope or he pushed the envelope too far, and that curiosity got them in trouble, and that curiosity brought death, right? And it can. So it's going back to what you were saying, Mrs. Halley. Curiosity can get you in a lot of trouble as well. If you go in the wrong direction, bad things can happen with that curiosity. Curiosity is actually one of our human characteristics that at times overwhelms us. And I think it's a very positive thing. I like being curious. I want to explore new things. I want to learn new things. And that curiosity sitting in front of me, I need to know how to do this. Do you ever have a project that you're looking at and you say, I know I can do this, but how do I accomplish it? Everybody ever done that? Maybe you're building something. I'm doing that right now. I'm doing some just very basic woodworking stuff. And actually what I'm doing these days is whittling. I sit on my back porch now and whittle. And I just sit there with my knives and I'm whittling away. And I'm thinking, I don't know how to make what I'm trying to whittle. You have a piece of wood. Now, how do I get to where I need to be? It's that curiosity. How am I going to shape it? How do I need to do the cut? And there are certain cuts that you use. And so you learn, right? Do you make mistakes when you're curious? Yes. My snowman does not have a nose now. Okay? So there goes that moment. Okay? Now it's got to be something else. But our curiosity does, at times, we make mistakes along the way. But if it's pointed in the right direction, especially when we talk about spiritual things today, and that's what we're going to be looking at today, and on a spiritual sense, curiosity is one of your best allies when you're looking for Jesus. And I think for some of us, including myself, my curiosity has been put on the back burner because I've been a Christian a long time and I know a lot about Jesus. I've read the Gospels. I'm a learned man. I don't have that curiosity as I once had. Anybody else been there? And so it's kind of like that curiosity needs to come back. Maybe the burner needs to be turned up, and we're going to talk about that. So, okay, go to Luke chapter 19. We're going to read it. I know this is probably one of those stories that you are very familiar with, which is fine. We sing the song, don't we? Probably going to sing it this morning with the kids. I haven't sang this one with them in a little while. Luke 19, starting in verse 1. He entered Jericho. Do you guys know where Jericho is? Ever heard of that town? So where is it located? On the map. Describe it to me. Okay, so you're right. It's the eastern part. So you have, remember the Sea of Galilee down here, the Jordan River, and you have a little lake on the bottom. Jerusalem's over here. Jericho is the very first city you come to when you cross the Jordan River. How do we know that? Well, because the Bible tells us so. What story are we going to use to show where Jericho is? Joshua. And what was the big thing about Jericho? It had big what? Why does it have big walls? Because it's the first fortified city you're going to come to across the river. Make sense? So it's a fortified city, or it was. Probably not as fortified as it is now. So, yeah. Oh, very good. If you didn't hear what she said, archaeologists has told us that the walls fell in. Usually in attack, walls fall out, but these walls fell in. I didn't know that. Thank you. Or is it vice versa? Ask Google. Ask Google later on. Well, I got my curiosity. I'll take a look at that later. So he enters Jerusalem. This is Jesus enters Jerusalem, and he was passing through. And behold, there's a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector, and he was rich. What do you know about him so far? Yes, he's a tax collector, and he's rich, but he's not just a tax collector. Huh? Well, we're going to get to that in a second. But he was not just a tax collector. What does it say here? He's the chief tax collector. So hold on to that little tidbit, okay? And he was seeking to see Jesus, seeking to see who Jesus was. And on the account of the crowd, he could not because he was a small in stature. He was a what in the song? A wee little man. So he ran ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And Jesus came to the place. He looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down. I must stay at your house. So he hurried and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all grumbled. He is gone to be the guest of a man who is a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone or anything, I restore it fourfold. And Jesus said to him, Today salvation has come to this house, since he is the son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save that which was lost. And there's your theme, right? When we studied Luke, this is your theme verse for the entire book, is verse 10. All right. So where I want to start with you guys is understanding, and you probably have a very good understanding. I'm standing in a crowd of knowledge in here, but tell me how people probably looked at Zacchaeus. How did the Jews or the people around there looked at Zacchaeus? He was a traitor. Okay, why would he be a traitor, Levi? Okay, so he is a Jew. We're going to talk about that later on, how Jesus brings him back. But he is a Jew working for Rome. Okay. Okay, absolutely. So they had that reputation of taking more money than they should. Rome said you had to collect this much, X amount. Well, a lot of times they collected X amount plus Y for themselves, and they lined their pockets. They couldn't do anything against it, or they could maybe try, but who are you going to gripe to? Because Rome's getting their money, so they don't care what they do to you. And who's backing the tax collector up? The guy with the armor and the sword. So I'm not going to be able to do much against this. So a lot of tax collectors were not honest. I think some were. I don't think all tax collectors were horrible and evil. I think some of them probably did their job, but they were seen as a traitor. Sometimes they cheated the people. Yeah, but he's also the chief tax collector. So what bonuses comes with that? So you can be a teacher, but when you're a principal, you making more money? Yeah, you are. So there's that there too. We're going to talk about that. Let me ask you this about these taxes. What do taxes go for? What were they paying for? Okay, so Rome would enjoy themselves, yeah. But what else? What's your tax money going to Rome for? Yeah, that's a huge part of that. The guy who is standing there in their armor and their swords watching over you, you're paying their salary, right? So you have to understand something for a second here. It's not like our system today that when you need to pay someone, you can PayPal it, or what's the new things these days? Money transfer? That doesn't happen, does it? The banking system's a little different then, right? Right, Alan? A little bit different then. So you have this massive empire. Rome is way over here. And so you're taking all these taxes in. And what's going on is you're taking taxes in to take care of that area of the empire. You have somebody over it. So you're taking care of the soldiers. Because the money's not coming from Rome. It's coming from the people. You understand? And so you're having to pay for those soldiers. Well, but there are some benefits you're getting from those taxes called roads. So there's a few benefits that you're getting from these taxes, but what other things is your tax money going for? I bet it failed them too, right? Okay. Okay. There you go. There you go. So let's look back to Palestine. So what's going on there? What else are they paying for? How does Rome keep peace? By force. How do they do that? There you go. Do you think Jesus was the first one they crucified? Yes or no? Absolutely not. Why crucify? Just because it's painful? Who said it? Was that you? Good job. It gets your attention. Where do they crucify him? Usually. What? Yes, hill. Prominent place. A lot of times when you're walking into town, where are they? Yeah. You know what your tax money's going for? Those crosses. Somebody has to pay for that, right? So your tax money is going for your buddy to be killed on the cross. You ever thought about that? Now, do you see why they hate tax collectors a little bit more? There are bonuses. There's pluses that when you have Rome there, but there's a hovering and fear, and if you don't do it, we'll make sure you do what we want you to do. Now, if you know your history at all, the Jews had a lot of blessings from Rome, where they were really strict in other parts of the known world under their empire. The Jews had it actually really good compared to other parts in the empire. But we have this guy. He's a person who was a Jew who says, "I'm leaving this and I'm walking away from it, and I'm going to serve Rome." Anybody watch The Chosen? 1, 2, 3. Did you guys watch the one when Matthew the tax collector? One of the apostles, one of the disciples of Jesus. It's incredible when they're looking at his life. Because, have you guys seen that episode? Have you guys, those of you who watched, it's probably is it season 2 or 1, Bess? I don't remember either. If you haven't watched it, you guys have got to start watching these. And I'm not saying they're biblical on point. You got to take it, it's entertainment with a biblical, if you're reading any, I can't, but okay, so when they're depicting Matthew the tax collector, he doesn't participate in Sabbath anymore. Is that a big deal for Jews? Sabbath? Remember the seventh day and keep it holy? And he can't be with his family for Sabbath to worship his God. Doesn't mean he doesn't believe in God. Doesn't mean he doesn't have a relationship. But here he goes, I can't be with my family. Totally shunned. They had nothing to do with him. His father wanted not even to see him. And it really, that movie series just gives you that insight of how despised these people were. And to be not a part of any festivals, so no birthdays, no happy holidays, no times with your family, and you don't get to worship anymore. You are kicked out of everything. Could you handle that? How would that make you feel when you look and your family says, I do not even want you in my home. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to see you. You have shamed our family. How would that make you feel? I think he's rich. I don't know. You should watch the video, see what Matthew says to his mama. It's really kind of interesting how he puts it. But I'm not going to go there. So I really want you to have a full grasp of what is going on here, because the change is so important, and what Jesus says at the end is so important for us to come to understand. What I really need you to know that he is absolutely shunned from society, his family. There's no point. He is not allowed to go to the temple. He's not allowed to do any of those things. You are cut off. If you're going to work with Rome, you're done with us. But there is a curiosity. Look at verse 3. And he says, and he was seeking to see who Jesus was. I wonder if Zacchaeus has heard some of the teachings. He wants to know who Jesus was. I got to see him. What would cause him to want to see Jesus? Yeah, there's curiosity. There's that overwhelming, I got to see him. But what do you think? Why does he care? What kind of rumors, Joe? There's a great one. He did heal people. There was incredible miracles that he was doing. But what else? What did Jesus teach? Sure. Mm-hmm. Okay, absolutely. So there's that rumor of, is he the Messiah or not? Yeah, because you can see that there is a crowd there. Because of the crowd, he had to go up into a sycamore tree, right? But I'm asking, what did Jesus teach that might drive his curiosity up that tree? Okay, give me more. What are some of the teachings? No, he never did teach against Rome. Okay, yeah, salvation. Okay, you guys are doing these huge brush strokes with a big spray can. I need you to get the detailed brush and start telling me what are the teachings of Jesus Christ. Okay, this is what I'm saying. He talks to sinners. He doesn't go to the Pharisees and say, hey, let's sit down. He finds the guy on the side of the road. He finds the guy that has been shunned by society called a leper. And he's heard the story of saying, are you willing? And Jesus says, yes. And he talks about love and how are you supposed to treat another person. Would that kind of ring a message to you, but how you're being treated? And maybe he's not a horrible man. He says in the Bible, if I cheated someone, doesn't mean he did. These are the lessons that people need to hear about Jesus. And I agree with the whole Messiah thing. I do. Like, yeah, who is this guy? But he's heard teachings of love and mercy and grace. And maybe he wants a change. What do you think? What drives a man up a tree? Does that make sense to you guys? Do you see the difference of a brushstroke and a little bit more finer tuning on that? What is this message? And what causes him to do, he goes up a tree and he's sitting there and he's looking down over the crowd. And the crowd probably doesn't even want him near him, so they're probably glad he's in the tree. And so he gets ahead, he gets into the tree, and what does Jesus do? Calls him down. Absolutely. This is what I love about Christ. All you got to do is take the first step. All you got to do is take the first step, and usually Jesus comes in at this point. He's looking, and he's trying to get a closer look, and then Jesus says, I want you to come down. But more important than that, what does he say to him at the end of verse 5? At the end of verse 5? Huh? Yeah, he calls his name. Yeah, that's actually really good because Zacchaeus, yeah, come down. So he goes Zacchaeus. He's very pinpoint on that. That's really good. I didn't think about that. But he says, I'm going to come to your house. Why is that so important? Okay, because he's a tax collector. What does a house represent for you? It's your safe place. It's your sanctuary. Anything else? It's where I'm vulnerable, right? It's where this is my home. And Jesus doesn't get invited. Jesus voluntold, right? I'm going to your house today. And Zacchaeus is thinking, what? You want to come to my house? So what's the reaction of the people? Look at verse 7. They grumbled. Anybody, what else you got? NIVers, New King Jamers. What do you got in there? Verse 7. And when they saw this, they grumbled. I got another word? Murmured. Oh man, I'm so glad as Christians we don't do that, right? Golly. So glad. What are they murmuring about? What's a sinner in a Jew's eye? Beautiful word, unclean. Keep going. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, there's a little section just for you. So you're outside the family. You're outside the tribe. And I probably should have said that. It was actually in my notes earlier. You're outside the tribe now. You're not part of this anymore. And they're looking at Jesus and they said, I cannot believe it. But look, I want you to see the first reaction of Zacchaeus in verse 5. No, in verse 6, excuse me. How did Zacchaeus receive Christ? Joyfully. Anybody have another word? I have joyfully in mind. Gladly, joyfully. And he goes, you want to be with me? And he says, absolutely yes. Um, this is very public. This is something that Jesus does in front of everyone. The Pharisees are going to see this. Um, are they going to see them at the house? Probably. Where do they normally eat meals in that place? Outside, right? They usually had a courtyard on top of the roof or something. You didn't really eat inside. Did you know it was hot? They didn't have air conditioning then? Did you know no air conditioning? Not even swamp coolers. How backwards can you be, right? So they usually ate outside, so you could look and you could see they're eating. So this is very public. Why would Jesus do it publicly? Okay, nothing to hide. What point do you think he's making? I think you are right. Okay. Yes, read on verse 10, because he's going to talk about that. Absolutely. Something over here? There you go. Hey, I need to make a connection here. So he breaks down those walls. How did Paul put it in his words when he's talking to different people and trying to associate with them or trying to make connections? What did he say? That's right. There you go. That's perfect. I become all things to all men. So what reason? So I can fit in. What? You really cut me off. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And why not get a chief tax collector instead of just a roundabout one? Nice. Don't you love her? That's that's why my lessons are decent. Her. I'm telling you, she gives me great insight. I love it. So yeah, if you didn't hear what she said, he's been meeting all these certain people all the way up to this point, and here he is. But he meets him seriously, joyfully. Um, and did he condemn him? Did Jesus condemn him? You're saying no. Why? Well, that was a pretty solid no. Because he doesn't, right? Why does Jesus not condemn him? Why didn't he not say, how could you do this? You're a Jew. You're a traitor to my father. Why didn't he do that? There you go. Now, absolutely, when you're trying to break those walls, you're not going to be condemning. But did he condone it? No. Now, I'm maybe not using Jesus as a tax collector here, but when Jesus associates himself, not associate, when he comes into I don't want to get into some of my other lessons like the Samaritan woman, what she was doing was living in sin. He did never condemned her, but he never condoned it. Does that make sense? He did. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Half breeds, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love it. Love it. Did he leave? Okay. Let's go really quickly here. So I want you to see the two reactions. The first reaction is Zacchaeus joyfully receiving him to his house, all very public. Jesus is in the public eyes. He's not hiding what he's trying to do. He's trying to break down these walls. He's trying to bring this person back, okay? The other thing is I want you to see the reaction of the people around him, grumbling and murmuring. How could they do that? How could he do that? He is at this status. How could he lower himself to that status? Because we do not lower ourselves to that status. But I want you to see here, when people are curious and they come to understand who Jesus is, there is a change in their life, right? That's the power of Christ. There is always a change in their life. Zacchaeus doesn't stay the same. What is the first thing Zacchaeus does? And what I've often wondered was this. I don't think they get to the house and he says this. I think they're having a meal. I think they're having discussions. I'm thinking they're there and they're discussing things. He realizes, going back to what you were saying earlier, wow, this is the guy. This is the guy we've been waiting for. We're having a meal. We're spending this time together. And at some point, near the end of this, he goes, this is what I'm going to do. What's the first thing he does? Do you hear that? Is that the Holy Spirit? Did you plug something in? Yeah. Okay. Go. Yeah. Can you turn the sound system off and then we'll turn it back on? Okay, so he goes, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to give half of what I owe. Oh, not owe, sorry. Half of what I have, I'm going to give to the poor. Absolutely, in my opinion, incredible. Gives half to the poor. It's interesting to me. Can you turn the sound system off and then turn it back? Huh? It's the baptistry? Oh, it could be an air conditioner. Oh. I just find it really interesting that I find it really interesting that he is giving his money away. I wonder if it goes back to what Jesus talks about in previous, you have the young rich man who can't give it up, but the person who really wants to try to follow Christ, he goes, what do I need to do? There's a giving spirit upon a person who wants to change their life to Christ. Have you ever noticed that? What's the first thing that people do in the book of Acts? They give of themselves. They give and they give and they give. And so when you find people who come to know Christ, and we're on the other side of this, we understand a death, burial, and resurrection. It hasn't happened yet. And if you study even more, it's even Peter who can barely, this can't happen, right? But we see the other side of this. But when people come in contact with Christ, their spirit changes from receiving to giving is the first thing I've always found. And it's just absolutely incredible that you can change that much. How hard is it to change from receiving to giving? Hello? I think it's almost, yes, some really hard would be an understatement, I think, for the day, wouldn't it? Because what kind of society are we? Gimme. How much? How much will I get? Gimme, gimme, gimme. And so his attitude changes. So I want you first to see that. And then he says, listen, if I have been dishonest, if I have done something wrong, I'm going to restore it. But not just restore it, but fourfold. So he's going to go back and go, if I've done anything wrong to anybody, I'm going to restore this. Now, look at what Jesus says to him. This is the second chance that Jesus gives. And why is it so important that he uses the words he does in verse 9? Today, salvation has come to this house, since he is also a son of Abraham. Why is that important? When he declares this publicly, because, people are watching, they want to know what Jesus is doing. He's having this dinner. It's probably not just with Zacchaeus. It's probably with other people and important people, whatever else is going on here. And he says he is also a son of Abraham. Why is that important? Okay, so the gospel came to the Jews first. I'll fully agree with that. What? Okay, so the covenant was with Abraham, Abraham's descendants, right? Going back to what you were saying, he has been shunned, and he's saying to everybody, he's a what? He's a child of God. He's part of God's chosen people. Isn't that incredible? Now, how I look at him, if I was a Jew, you're not part of the tribe. You're out. Going back to what you were saying, there's sin and then there's a tax collector. And Jesus declares, this is a son of Abraham. That's, wow. So you're saying a little bit of curiosity to find who Jesus is, having a meal with him, changing your life, you become a child of God? You're back in the tribe. What does this mean to you? What does this story mean to you? Because honestly, in here, you're not outside the tribe. Most of us, right? You're in the tribe. But what does it mean to you? I like that. That will preach. Okay, I love that. You bringing Christ into your house, you're going to find out what you got to get out. I love it. You got to turn the lights on. And the analogy, I don't know if you heard it, was you can clean your house with the lights off, and you can make sure it's okay. But when Jesus shows up and the lights go on, you're going to see what's in the house. Ooh, I like that a lot. Ooh, I'm stealing that. I'm not giving you any credit. So there's one good thing. Maybe it's time for us to turn some lights on and see what we need to get rid of. I like that. I like that. What else does this teach you? Okay. Gets to come back home, which is a blessing. Here's a couple things I want you to learn because we have 5 more minutes. Number one, I want your curiosity to come back and dive deeper into your relationship with Jesus Christ. And maybe you need to turn some lights on and get rid of some stuff in your life. I've been on autopilot a lot of times in my spiritual life, in my relationship with God. Curiosity makes you dive deeper. Curiosity wants you to know more. Going back to your dictionary thing, Miss Joe, you need to get back in curiosity about this. What does it mean? How does it apply to me? How do I make improvements in my life? And I think there's times, at least I'm speaking to me, is that because I think I know, my curiosity goes away. But I can promise you, bring back that curiosity, turn that burner up on the back of that stove and really start looking at these things. How does Jesus change my life today? A lot of times we'll say, well, Jesus changed my life when I was baptized in 19 whatever. No, he changes your life today. And he'll change your life tomorrow. He'll change your life next week and next month and next year if you allow him to, right? And so bring back the curiosity. Climb up the tree, do whatever you need to do. But this is what I learned from Jesus. He says, if you seek, you're going to find. He seeked Christ, and Christ found him. That makes sense? And he called them, going back to what somebody said, he called them by name. So number one, I want your curiosity. What else does it teach you? Not just on a personal level, but on an outreach level. I'll tell you, because I don't have a minute. People are curious and looking for something more. A lot of people, we look at our society and say, oh, they're horrible, oh, they're not looking. There's a lot of people up a tree trying to figure out which way to go. And they're 100% lost. They don't know which way to go. They don't know what to do. They don't understand what truth is. They are confused. They don't know how to keep their family together anymore. You know, a lot of people struggle with that, right? They don't know what the next future looks like. They are scared of death. They're up the tree and they're looking, and you really need to be the one walking down the road and saying, let me introduce you to someone. I'll come to your house, you come to my house, but let me introduce you to someone. And the power of Jesus Christ in this world today is still the same power that you find in Zacchaeus. That when you introduce someone to Jesus Christ, a change can happen. It's going to take your time. It's going to take your energy. It's going to take away from other things. But we have the same mission as Jesus has in Luke chapter 9 and verse 10. For the Son of Man came to seek and save that which was lost. I promise. Remember the other verse that he says, the Pharisees, or I believe, are talking to him, and he says, why are you with all these sinners? He goes, because the sick needs the physician. If you're okay, you don't need the doctor, but the sick do. There's a lot of sick around us. Not in South America, not in Africa, not in Ukraine, in Bowie, Texas. There is a lot of sick. And we know the great physician. And his mission that he gave to us is exactly the same mission that he had, and it is to seek and save the lost. And a lot of times let me ask you this. Why aren't we using our curiosity to fuel our evangelism? Wow, you guys went dead. All right, come back next week and give me your answer, because they're about to ring the bell. People are out here in the foyer, so we'll end on that note. But I want you to think about that.